Yes, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, dearest friends and families. This is In the Raw. RKS Guyana Free Media, updating you about the absolute preponderance of elections 2020, the Guyana madness. A total disgrace, a shame that has been brought upon us in Guyana by the ruling group called the APNU and the AFC, who refused to hand over power and have been doing all kinds of things to affect our joy, our happiness, our peace of mind, and also to put pains in the hearts of the victors of the elections. As I have said before, yours truly, Haji Roshan Khan, I have no problem with anyone who wins the election, but I will support to my last breath, to my death if necessary, the right of whoever wins the election to take power. For example, when President Ramotar had prorogued Parliament and was holding on to power through the proroguing of Parliament, I was against him and I spoke against him. And I would have done the same thing if it had continued. And when the APNU AFC won the election, I said you must hand over power with immediate effect. Even though we now know that there was some corruption, some deceit, and there was some collaboration for the PPPC to win the election, which I think for the PPPC to lose the elections of 2015 and for the APNU AFC to win the election. But I think it was necessary for the PPPC at that time to lose the election to bring them in line with reality, for they would have lost themselves over the 23 years. And now they are awakened, they are in charge, and they are ready. And to my opinion, and the opinion of the vast population of Guyana, and the countries and citizens and the leadership around the world, the PPPC has been victorious and therefore should take the reins of government. It's very unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen, and totally wrong for any party to want to cling to power when you are not wanted by the people, or when you all want power, wealth, and you want to give away your nation to your friends and families so you may have future becomings of wealth poured into the party and upon your friends and your family, and you may draw on for life as if you will live forever. With all of this in mind, the whole world, the Carter Center banned the EU with just one person to move around and observe the CARICOM with just 3 persons to observe the count and the recount, ladies and gentlemen. It was a hard task. With the local observers, the Private Sector Commission, and others like yourself, like myself, my friends and families, we know the recount was perfect, awesome, beautiful. There's no way any skullduggery could have taken place except to pull wool over the eyes by claiming that dead people voted, which is a ridiculous, manipulative, tricky, deceitful, to pull wool over the eyes of the people and the world as if we are bereft of eyesight, and that people voted more than once. People had voted without ID cards when they were not authorized to, and so on. But even though the Carter Center was banned, and the OAS had only 2 persons, and the CARICOM had 3 official and a few others from the CARICOM in Guyana observing, we know that the PPPC has been victorious. The United Nations knows. The American knows. The Canadian knows. Norway knows. The European knows. Africa, Caribbean, Pacific knows. CARICOM knows, ladies and gentlemen. So we stand at a time of great pain, great confusion, manipulation, lies and tricks to steal power, to steal a country, to steal a nation, and to disrespect the will of the people who for the last 5 years, most of whom were not won by care, courtesy, caution, and love, but abandoned, left in the wilderness to struggle and to strive for a living. Tens of thousands put out of a job directly and indirectly. The mining industry 60% of the people have abandoned their claims. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and families, it's a painful and a terrible time. Bauxite is down and out. Sugar is out. Rice is barely crawling along due to the charisma and the power of the farmers and their ability to try and survive, which is an inherent DNA characteristic with which they were blessed, most of the rice farmers. So what does the U.S. government say now after making several pronouncements? Here it is. Taken from the Kaieteur News, U.S. government instructs State Department to take action against persons undermining Guyana's democracy. Friends and family, ladies and gentlemen, United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has instructed the Department of State to take action against individuals who undermine Guyana's democracy. This was revealed by Pompeo yesterday at a press briefing, as the Secretary of State congratulated Guyana's neighbor Suriname for the culmination of their elections and a peaceful transition of power to a new National Assembly. He stated in contrast, it's now been 4 months since Guyana's election, long past due for a peaceful transition of power. This truly, my commentary, a time of great shame and disgrace. In Suriname, a man who has been indicted for the murder of 15 of his patriots some decades ago has handed over power through the power and the love of democratic norms. What do we have in Guyana? Fun and jokes, manipulation and trickery, playing games with the world, playing games with God and the will of the people, which is the will of God, playing games with them, hurting their hearts, pulling wool over the eyes of the people and trying to get their own, to celebrate, to create confusion, to put fear into the hearts of the still opposition who are truly the victors, that they need to concede or they will have violence. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my understanding is all the people are prepared to defend, not to be aggressors, but to defend. So be careful, you who are planning clandestine activities to divide and hurt our people, for which you have been involved in for many, many, many decades over and over. I thought those days are gone. Dates to be faced, the reality to be faced, that elections is lost. And I go back to Mike Pompeo now. He noted that the Caribbean community, CARICOM, and the Organization of American States have certified the recount results. These results show that the People's Progressive Party, Civic, has won the general election with 233,336 valid votes, while the Partnership for National Unity and Alliance for Change, APNU and ALC, trails behind with 217,920 valid votes. They should get on with it. I repeat, they should get on with it. I repeat, they should get on with it, Pompeo said. As the tabulation of the recount results was completed since early June, a commentary, what a total absolute disgrace for Guyana, in perdition and shame due to skullduggery and wanting to thief a nation because of the tricks and the deceit some of them has been involved, stealing and handing property in the name of their friends and their families, and those who don't want to hand it back, their cars are being burned down and their lives are being threatened, ladies and gentlemen. Monies are going into the interior, into the jungle, and hiding with a friend of the cabal in his storehouses and his storerooms in the jungles and in secret hiding places in the jungles, ladies and gentlemen of Guyana. And overseas properties and lands and monies have been transferred to other friends and families. This is the mafia that we seem to have now running Guyana, and I'm not speaking of necessarily President David Arthur Granger, but the warlord and the warlords and his compatriots who want to destroy those who don't agree with them and wipe them out if they can. And back to the article. I have instructed my department, he added, to ensure I have instructed my department, he added, to ensure those who undermine Guyana's democracy are held accountable. Kaieteur News recently interviewed a Washington-based political consultant, Jose Gardinas, who said that the U.S. is likely to impose sanctions on specific persons who are complicit in thwarting the will of the Guyanese people. Government and Guyana Elections Commission officials are likely subjects of such sanctions. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, commentary. It is such a shame, but I'm asking personal sanctions. Sanctions against our country would destroy lives, would hurt people, would break commerce, would put us down in not only shame, but economic terror, economic fear, economic destruction. Lives could be destroyed. Crime will increase. People's farmers and those who grow their food, they will not be able to reap because there'll be hunger and they're lazy people who don't like to grow. So I'm asking, sanctions, if it must have sanctions, must be against targeted individuals and not against the country, please. Gardinas had said that if the situation gets worse and the conspiracy is discovered to be government-wide, then sanctions are likely to be sectoral and far-reaching. Exactly the exact thing that I fear, ladies and gentlemen. If after they target persons and then they find that government was involved, section by section, department by department, then possibilities of a national sanction. This is terrifying. This is hurtful. This will shut us down. And the government is likely, as it already has us in, a state of martial law. Why state of martial law, ladies and gentlemen? We have a commissioner of police who is supposed to be retired, a deputy commissioner of police who is supposed to be retired too, but according to the president of Guyana, they are there for a particular, sensitive, important objective. What is that? To keep us, the people, at bay. To make sure they are able to direct certain particular persons trained in clandestine and open activities to harass and threaten those who follow the law and protest. But those who break the law and protest wild and misbehave and march wild, as we saw in New Amsterdam recently, they are left alone. No COVID virus excuse to arrest them. So this is the reason why the appointments of these two officers are sensitive and also semi-secret, to my opinion. They have served their time. They have done their job. It is time for them to go. Make way for the new, for the fresh. We have wonderful, bright, new assistant commissioners, two of whom were wrongfully removed and placed in areas where they could be controlled by the military and in the Ministry of the Presidency. Two wonderful professional officers. The very way Brigadier West was removed unceremoniously, suddenly, that he refused to go and to attend the inauguration of Brigadier Bess as the head of the Guyana Armed Forces. So, ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman didn't go because why? He's a gentleman. Because they humiliated his heart. They embarrassed him and his family. And because why? Because he's a professional. And to end the article, I repeat again the last paragraph and the one after that which ends the article. Gardinas had said that if the situation gets worse and the conspiracy is discovered to be government-wide, I repeat, if the conspiracy is discovered to be government-wide, then sanctions are likely to be sectoral and far-reaching. No declaration can be made at this juncture as the recon case is in court. It was heard yesterday by the Caribbean Court of Justice, and rulings are expected on Wednesday. End of article. But ladies and gentlemen, please do bear in mind also that even if by a long shot, even if the Caribbean Court of Justice judges on behalf of the caretaker government in Guyana, we must bear in mind that the American government and the world will still unleash sanctions against Guyana, because they made it quite clear, and this should be the case. Government should take power not by manipulation of dead and migrant and lie and feeding into the mind of the people that can cause violence, more lies, and by mere technicality. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and families around the world, be aware, be prepared, understand the truth. Guyana is in a state of perdition and destruction. Unfortunately, and I'm ashamed to say, by the government that took power in 2015. I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as a quick commentary, when the government took power in 2015, I thought they would have brought a leadership that is exemplary and extraordinary. That would have been a case in Guyana where the people, even who didn't vote for them in 2015, will want to join lines and vote for them and run behind them, the way the Indo-Guyanese had run after Eric Williams in Trinidad. I thought they would have brought newness, freshness, and they would not have gone off to people who they wouldn't agree with them, or they think didn't like them, they think didn't like them, or they think didn't support them, and they try to wipe them out of their businesses. For the sins you commit 2 by 2, you have to pay for them 1 by 1. And what they did, ladies and gentlemen, they started to enrich themselves and their families. And a particular warlord with the 2-lettered business magnate into more business, into more magnate, and contract shifting and going, and price of tendered sums rising by 70, 80 and $100 million, and then they will get their cut, ladies and gentlemen, and others as well. Ministers forming business and industries in the name of their family and engineering contracts towards them. I saw some of that in the PPP too. I have seen that. They have learned their lesson. And if they have won the election as it will appear, then they need to take the reins of government. Your friend, me, your brother, Haji, Dr. Roshan Khan, saying thank you, my beloved divine friends and families. Keep the peace. Those who are threatening and terrorizing, let them do. Let the world see them. And you be the best you can be at all times. Haji Roshan Khan saying thank you and farewell, friends.